Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Candlelight Stroll, our opportunity to shine the spotlight on paranormal happenings within the tri-state area. Here with your host, Vic Whateley.
And Marcus D. And come along on a haunted ride with us as we tell the tale of the legend of Black Annie. In the early 20th century, Dr. Travis Scales was a wealthy doctor and entrepreneur in Boonville, Indiana. He was an accomplished physician, president of a bank, and even owned several mining operations in the area. He built and moved into a large two-story mansion which rested on what is now Scales Lake. As most wealthy families do, they had servants that frequented the home. They had a full-time gardener, a full-time cook. Most notably, they had a full-time housekeeper named Annie, who had her own quarters. Very little is known about Annie, other than her last name possibly being Carter. Sometime in the late 1920s, Dr. Scales, his wife, and his mother left to attend a large event in town. While in town, a fire started in the mansion that engulfed the home, burning it down to just the foundation. A search ensued for Annie, but her body was never recovered.
This is where facts begin to enter the realm of legend. It was believed that since there was no body recovered, it must have been consumed by the fire, although some say that her remains, if there ever were any, were laid to rest in Pleasant Hill Cemetery. Rumors persist, though, by some people who lived at the time and may have had closer inside information on the subject, that the young woman was already dead when the fire was set, and that the fire only exists to hide that heinous crime. And it is said, since her spirit was never properly laid to rest, that her spirit still haunts the area to this day. One of the areas associated with Black Annie is the nearby Scales Lake. It's said in that area that you can hear her weeping or crying out throughout the night, although that's not the only paranormal activity associated with the area. There are those who say if you go down late at night, you can see strange lights floating over the lake. Others say that you can hear an odd voice carrying over the hills and trees, almost resembling speech, but nothing that can quite be made out. And there's even a singular account of someone spotting a nightcrawler within the area.
From Scales Lake, going down Old Tennyson Road, things just get weirder. Many people in the area reported going down Old Tennyson Road that you'll see a woman in all black slowly walking on the side of the road. Even more bizarre, some people that have gone slowly down the road have reported that a woman in all black has jumped on the hood of her car, eyes wild, causing the person driving to veer off and almost crash their car. All this leads up to Pleasant Hill Cemetery itself, where people have reported seeing Black Annie wandering around in the cemetery. Paranormal investigators that have been out there have also reported feeling an odd, strange presence when they've been out there. And some people have also reported photographing orbs out there in the cemetery as well.
This is actually an area that we here at One Candle have personally investigated.
Yeah. I remember when we were looking into the story, one of the odd things that came across for me is there is actually Travis Scales that did own this property, there's still no actual recorded Annie that had worked for him. Like, we've looked all over, like the grave finder in Warwick County, and no woman by the name of Annie or Annabelle Carter could be found on one of these grave sites.
And although we didn't see the legendary Black Annie, that did not mean that we didn't walk away with our own strange experiences.
Oh yeah, there was some bizarre stuff. Like when we were at Scales Lake, I mean, we heard the bizarre stuff that people are talking about.
Yeah. Both me and Marcus experienced the odd voices on the wind. We're actually and it wasn't like sounding like, did you hear that? It was a prolonged sort of event where we were listening to it going on, both trying to figure out while we were hearing it what we were listening to.
Yeah, when you go to Scales Lake, right there in the front, there's kind of like a parking lot. There's this big open field. And we thought we saw something out there in the tree line, and we're looking around, and as we're trying to figure out what that sound was, a big gust of wind comes through, and both me and Vic started looking at each other because we had heard some strange muttering in the wind when we were out there.
And I'm the sort of person, I'm very used to spending my time out in the woods. It wasn't the sort of sound you would normally expect to hear from wind coming off trees, or even the sound of something echoing through the hills. It was something solely unique to that experience.
Yeah. And a little bit, we were inside the lake too. We were inside in the camping area, and I know that there were some supposed screams that were in there. surrounding Scales Lake, it looks like there's some farming area, and I think when we were out there that we thought there were the screams might be either pigs or turkeys.
Yeah, we definitely heard some of the screams, and I think some of that can be definitely attributed to some of the nearby pigs. Although not necessarily paranormal, we also found something strange out on Old Tennyson Road.
Yeah, when we got to the end of Old Tennyson Road, we stopped because I thought we saw something kind of odd on a sign when we were down there at the Old Tennyson Road. And when we got out, it's weird because I can't even remember what it was, because this is part of the story too. There was a sign that was there, and around the sign was a black scarf. And it was just odd, you know. I tried to look up to see maybe is this some sort of thing people do when someone passes away in the area. Like at a dangerous intersection, sometimes you'll see people that'll put like crosses or small memorials to people that have passed away. I didn't see anything in the area at the time, but it was very disquieting to see this black scarf tied around this sign.
Also, there's that random shirtless hobo who's just walking out in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night.
Yeah, I think we named him Hobo Steve because we're going up and down Old Tennyson Road, and we just keep seeing this guy just staring at us.
Yeah, just this shirtless guy, middle of the dead of the night, out in the middle of nowhere, just kind of walking around looking at us.
That was also kind of disquieting. But kind of going back to some of the weird things that happened to us, the black scarf, definitely the voice on the wind when we were out there, and how we didn't actually get we didn't get a recording, we didn't get a photograph of the scarf. I mean, what do we chop that up to? Just inexperience?
No, I don't think so. The voice on the wind, I was so locked into the experience. I wanted to understand what was going on around me. I was so locked into trying to analyze what I was in the middle of that I was more focused on that than I probably should have been. I probably should have pulled myself back from being so close to the situation and went for the evidence instead of just trying to fully understand what I was experiencing.
And when you think about it, not many people are really prepared to handle a full-on paranormal experience when it happens to us. It's a hard thing to prepare for. If you think about like the human brain and kind of compare it to a computer, if your computer experiences something that it can't process, like it's being text, it'll start to slow down, it'll start to glitch. I mean, and that can happen to the human mind too when you're put into a situation that you're just not prepared for. And as humans, we try to, if you think about crises, we prepare and we get ourselves set up to that when a crisis happens, we respond accordingly to it. With a paranormal experience and what we do, guys, that's a hard thing to prepare for, because how do you prepare for the unexplainable sometimes?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I don't put too much blame on the people who, when they run into something, their first thought isn't to pull out their camera and take a picture of it. It's very easy to get lost in that experience. You want to capture this unique moment that's going on, not necessarily in film, but in your mind. And you want to analyze what you're really experiencing.
And to all you listeners out there, if you think about some of you that have had paranormal experiences in the past, like some of the first ones you had starting out, how many of those did you record? Just food for thought.
Hey guys, and thank you for tuning in to our analysis of the Legend of Black Annie.
So glad that you guys were here for this video. We hope you enjoyed it, because I know that we had a great time making it. We always enjoy talking about paranormal stories that we ourselves actually went out to investigate. It has kind of a personal touch to it. If there's anything that you guys have ever wanted us to talk about, leave it in the comments below. We love getting feedback from you guys.
And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
But as always, keep believing.
Because we'll keep listening.